I sensed something was off the moment my key hovered in the lock. It wasn't the door that hesitated. It was the house itself. Homes have a rhythm, a familiarity. Mine felt like it had been learning someone else's steps. So I locked it again, turned away as if I'd simply forgotten something, and put on a performance loud enough for the walls to overhear. I announced I'd be gone for a week to visit my sister. A lie, but a necessary one. I didn't go anywhere. I crossed the street and tucked myself into the shadows where no one would think to look. I wanted the truth, raw and unfiltered. That's when my elderly neighbor, Mrs. Hale, approached. Her hand landed on my arm, cold as her expression. "Don't move until midnight," she murmured. "Everything you're trying to see will show itself then." I didn't question her. I was exhausted from pretending nothing was wrong. He wasn't always the stranger I'd begun to fear. Once he was warmth, a man who made winter feel shorter. We met during a snowstorm in a cramped cafe. He handed me a scarf with a shy smile, and I returned it 2 days later with feelings already stitched into folds. Everything between us moved quickly. Trust, love, promises. When he asked me to marry him, I said yes without a single doubt. But doubt found me anyway. It started with tiny warnings. A message he closed too fast. A laugh meant for someone else. Trips that didn't match his co-worker schedules. A perfume scent I'd never worn drifting through our bedroom. I didn't confront him. I observed. People think silence is weakness, but silence is surveillance. When I found a teardrop-shaped earring under our bed that wasn't mine, I didn't shed a tear. I just shifted into strategy. I learned his routines, his financial messes, his passwords he assumed I hadn't seen him type. He thought clearing his browser history erased his secrets. He forgot everything synced. There wasn't one affair. There were many, and lies layered under lies. So I built my exit and my trap at the same time. I quietly separated my accounts, hired a discreet lawyer, and documented every betrayal. When everything was ready, I let the rumor slip. I will be gone for a week. He relaxed immediately, the way guilty people do when they think the stage is theirs again. At midnight, the truth walked in without shame. At 11:58, the house was silent. At 11:59, lights snapped on. At 12 o'clock, the front door opened, and a woman walked inside with an overnight bag. Then another, and another, 3 of them, all comfortable, all practiced. He arrived last, laughing like a man who thought he'd never be seen. Beside me, Mrs. Hale watched as if she'd expected the entire show. "Your home is a guest house to him," she muttered. "You deserve far more than this." I didn't cry. I didn't shake. What I felt was confirmation, the final puzzle piece of consequences he had earned. They drank my wine, lounged on my furniture, kissed him in my doorway, and he acted like the life I built meant nothing. But I'd stopped needing his honesty weeks ago. What mattered now was the truth written on paper. Before sunrise, police officers arrived, not for the affairs, but for the forged signatures, the loans taken in my name, the documents he assumed I'd never notice. I'd noticed everything. I handed over every bit of evidence with steady hands. He was arrested in front of his late-night guests, stunned and speechless. "You did this," he whispered. I didn't gloat. I didn't raise my voice. I simply said, "I stopped covering for you." By noon, the house was officially mine alone. His accounts were frozen, his crimes documented, his affairs exposed, his life reduced to a stack of charges and truths he could no longer bury. I walked back into my home later that day. It felt different, lighter, honest. Mine again. Mrs. Hale gave me a quiet nod from her porch before disappearing indoors. A silent supporter, nothing more, standing in the center of my living room. Knowing strangers had touched my things only hours earlier, I waited for anger or grief. Instead, peace bloomed where pain had once lived. Revenge wasn't the moment he fell. It was the moment I stepped forward without him. And as the house settled around me, finally breathing in rhythm with me again, one thought came clear and calm. I saw everything, and I lost nothing worth keeping.